I just never seen anybody who focused on 4, 5, 6, 10 things at the same time. I never seen them accomplish even one. And then, this part you won't like, but who the fuck is responsible for your mood? As a man in his 30s, who's responsible for your emotions except you? If you're in a bad mood, it's a good time to tell yourself you're being fill in the, you're being a something, and maybe you should be more appreciative of the circumstances you have. And someday you're going to be dead. So, how much time do you want to spend, and schedule it with yourself, actually. It sounds, nobody wants to hear this type of shit, but if you just schedule it with yourself, say, well, I'm going to be alive for 200,000-300,000 hours, 250,000, 300,000 waking hours. How many of them do you want to spend feeling depressed? What's the ideal amount of time that you would spend feeling anxious, depressed, angry? And schedule it with yourself. And with one caveat, whatever amount of time you schedule, make yourself do it. Make yourself sit by yourself and wallow in that. Say, no, I'm only allowed to be angry right now. No happiness for me. Try to do it without laughing at yourself. You won't be able to do it. You won't be able to snap you right out. And then you think, well, if I could let go of this, how long am I going to be angry? A couple days? 1 day? A couple hours? How long am I going to be depressed about something? Schedule it with yourself. And just sit there. And, if you start to feel any happiness, no. This is the time to be a depressed little bitch. Just an ungrateful, depressed fucking turd. Try to do that. If you do that 3 times, you won't be able to anymore. You'll have that thought and you'll turn it right around. You'll be like, all right then, back to work. Market's up, back to work. Market's down, back to work. Oh, didn't sleep as much as I wanted to. Can I go back to sleep right now? No? Well, might as well get back to winning. More winning. Time for more success then. More winning. How could I win even more today? How could I stack even more victories today? You start thinking like that for a while, it'll get rid of most of those negative emotions. Anger, anxiety, depression. So you're going to be dead. I think you should minimize those negative emotions. It's your choice. Nobody wants to hear that. It's your choice, though. Nobody's more responsible for it than you. Not only is nobody more responsible, nobody's responsible at all for a grown man's emotions, except himself. 100%. Except himself. So when you take that responsibility internally, that by itself will make you angry for a minute, and then you're like, yeah, but it's also true. So back to work. But it's also true, so let it go. Back to work. Get shit done. Time for more winning. Time for more winning. Schedule that. Focus on that. I think there's tremendous wisdom in that, 1.5 things at a time. I think there's tremendous wisdom in that, and I'm kind of saying it to them more than you, but I just never seen anybody who focused on 4, 5, 6, 10 things at the same time. I never seen them accomplish even one. I never seen somebody that's smart enough or tough enough to do that. Never once. Even in the movies, even in fucking fantasy movies, nobody's so fucking smart that they could take on 10 big goals at a time and accomplish all of them. Not even in a fucking fantasy Hollywood movie. Not even then. So I think there's tremendous wisdom in having your primary goal and secondary goal. And your primary goal is the thing you work at 11 hours a day. You're like tough focused work for 11 hours a day. And your secondary goal is the thing that when you can't make yourself work for the 12th hour on your primary goal, you put in 3 more hours on the secondary goal. And then you suffer enough exhaustion that you fall asleep on your desk or something, or wherever the hell you happen to be, and you wake up and you get back to work on your primary goal. And if a person does that through their 20s and 30s, somewhere in their 30s there's going to be a tipping point where you're like, you know what? I can do whatever the fuck I want now. So if you're pursuing something industrious, and somebody with your brain capacity and the level of focus it gets that it requires to do some of the things that you're doing, if you just stuck to that, I think the outcomes are going to be tremendously better than you would have thought of a year ago or 5 or 10 years ago. I think you're going to have tremendously better outcomes than you would have imagined at that time in your life. And think of the effort that it takes to get a PhD in a logical science area, a science-based area, as you're doing. People a lot dumber than you are making more money in the stock market. People a whole lot dumber than you are making more money. Does that piss you off a little bit? I hope it pisses you off a little bit. I'd like you to keep that thought alive in your head. Maybe it's already there, but if not, let me put the thought in your head that dumber people than you are making more money.
Yeah. I think about that kind of a lot, actually. So.
Good. I hope you think about it a few times a day and have enough angst about it that you're like that's fucked up, and I'm going to change this. That's fucked up, and I'm going to make sure it doesn't remain true,
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like, at this stage, it's like, okay, well, if I had to go back and do this all over again, I probably wouldn't have done things the way I did, but I guess at least now I've set myself up for at least making the best out of the current situation now. So as far as entrepreneurship and taking care of the girl situation and all these other things right now.
I think a lot of things are going great. I see a lot more independent decision making. When we were out last night, I stand around a lot. By the way, boot camp's only scheduled from 8 till 1 or 8 to 1:30 or something. So when I'm out there till 4 in the morning, I have no obligation to be there at that time. That's a bonus. But in the past, I've seen a lot more procrastination or, wandering about, pretending to do something, but not really doing much. And and yesterday, it doesn't mean that you don't do that on occasion, but you do it 90% less than you used to. You've eradicated 90% of that you're generally moving with a calmness and a calmness and sincerity, if you will. But it's also purpose-driven. You also seem to be, cognizant of how you're spending your time, and you're moving with purpose, but still in a calm, congruent, manner. Does that make sense? That's a big difference. Do you see that people treat you differently when you behave that way?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you need something, if you're lurking around in a way that you need something or you want something from somebody versus that calmness and relaxedness, makes people feel uncomfortable. And it doesn't mean you're a bad person, it just makes people feel uncomfortable. You might be an extremely high quality person. I've seen a lot of very smart people that have that mannerism about them for a period of time, and you get 2 little shifts in their psychology, and then they can be themselves. They feel more comfortable and more calm to be themselves, and then they don't have that filter or that stifledness, and then you can move a lot more naturally and sincerely, and it's and other people appreciate that about you as well. I know people like that, and it doesn't take a lot to change that. It just change you got to change 1 or 2 thoughts in your head. So I think you've done very well with that, internalizing that, and I think it's clear, and I think your assessment, very good logical assessment. You got to tolerate the emotional sufferings that go along with stronger leadership. Trusting your judgment more than the judgment of others, or giving yourself permission, feeling the entitlement to go interrupt a stranger's life, and have the audacity to believe that whatever that you'd be doing, whatever you might be inviting them to, may be the best possible invitation they ever got in their whole goddamn life. And on one hand, that's a bit of an audacious statement, but on the other hand, it's 100% factually true. And that's a profound thought. If you play that game with yourself for a little bit, it really changes your entitlement a bit. Because if you're doing things that you feel proud of and you generally like yourself, then the natural answer you're going to come to is well, if she's the type of girl that's generally compatible with me, I may well be the best opportunity she'll ever have in life. I think that's a very useful tool. So I think that might help a bit with your entitlement. And you've heard me say this before, but entitlement is not adding something new. The emotion of entitlement is rather a lack of emotion. It's not adding something new. It's just giving yourself permission to do the things that you want to do without hesitation or shame. Entitlement is the emotion you feel when you turn a light switch on or off in your own home. Entitlement is the emotion that you feel when you go to your own refrigerator and grab any damn thing you feel like out of there. Do whatever you want with it. So it's a lack of emotion. It's not adding a new emotion of feeling awesome all the time. It's really a lack of emotion that'd be like, of course I could go to my own fridge and do whatever I want. You could piss in your own damn fridge if you wanted to. You probably feel stupid doing it, but theoretically you could, couldn't you? And that's the same thing as like, you're not going to go abuse the girl for the same way you're not going to go piss in your own refrigerator. So, well, no need for doing that. But that by itself, that thought by itself should also help your entitlement that you're not going to do something mean or nasty. You get what I'm saying? So don't try to hype yourself up. I find this extraordinarily annoying about a lot of people. There's this idea from naive people, most of them are young, there's this idea that, like, especially on the internet, like, how do I hype myself up to go do the thing? How do I hype myself up for more success? Or the way they say it is like, Derek, tell me some motivation to be more successful. That comes from within, homie. If you ain't feeling that from within, you ain't gonna do shit. You ain't gonna do a goddamn thing, It's one of the stupid things, I hear this daily. I look at Instagram and my brain's, a little piece of my hope for humanity chips away every time I read one of those type of comments. Like, somebody's writing a random dude they never met, didn't take the time to come meet, and say some magical words to me for me to go, feel like being more successful today. Think how fucking stupid that is. But that's your competition. But that's the world at large. That's your competition. Versus the guy that thinks like you is like, well, I got some shit to do. Well, I'm gonna sit down and spend my whole day doing this nerdy shit because I know my life will be better if I do. Maybe all of humanity will be a bit better. That's a very different type of mindset that you would have versus that, Just give yourself a little credit for that. Not everybody's going to like the science nerd guy, or not everybody's going to like some guy like me. I'm a hard guy to fucking spend a lot of time with. I'm fussy, I'm opinionated, I want things just the way I want them, I'm a very valuable resource for the right type of person, but, I don't want to spend time with most people, and a lot of women, she can't even change herself to fit. It has to be a natural fit, She has to have similar, like internal desires before she met me that are pretty congruent with mine. That otherwise, it's just you're asking them for too much. You're asking them to change too much about their core identity. So you got to find somebody that has a pretty congruent fitment with your own. If you're going to go do something significant in life, you don't want that distraction of like you're fighting her internal drives all the time. So it's why I say that, leading with yourself or leading with some of the harsher parts of your personality or more opinionated parts of your personality, that the people that don't like that, they're not going to like it. They're not going to like it now. They're not going to like it 6 months from now. No reason to spend that 6 months with that person versus somebody who's already very much in alignment with who you are and how you are. They're going to be delighted to meet somebody like that. And it's going to be, very sincere and effortless, and she'll be pulling you more than you're pulling her, She's going to identify that as like, oh my God, I've been waiting to meet someone like this. I only get to meet a guy like this once or twice a year, and this is one of those type of guys. So I have to take it seriously and, go along with the flow here and see how things go. See if he's as good as I think he is, And that's the spot that you want to be in. And and the guy doesn't get into that spot by filtering. You get to that spot from being, unashamedly yourself, and it's being empathetic, but also a good leader. Firming your leadership with some empathy that you're not making her feel uncomfortable, or she's not going to have regrets about anything you do the next day or something.
There's such a wealth of information that is conveyed by you and your team to help us become better investors, better thinkers, better analyzers of the things that we need to know and look at to become successful in the markets in the long run. Just speaking from the heart, I see you work so hard on this course, and I really appreciate that because I'm a super, super hard worker myself. I wouldn't be on this course if I wasn't. It's really interesting to hear other people's thoughts and questions on the course. What I think people don't understand is that no matter how much information they have, they'll never have perfect information. And because investing is unique to each individual based on their risk tolerance, their financial situation, and their life at that particular time, there is no right or wrong answer for any question in terms of should I buy this or should I not, because it's very personal. So the biggest takeaway really from the course is that when you add these tools that you're giving us a guidepost for the things to look for. Because there is such an abundance of information out in the world, you've given us a guide as to what are the most important things that we need to look at, such as financial ratios, reading 10Ks, 10Qs, all the SEC filings. And those things are tremendously important. I think something you're really alluding to during the course is investing is really just choosing the best decision based on infinite probabilities. And you have to take that information and combine it with what's going on in your life, with your specific financial situation. And then most importantly, taking all that together and then making a move, because taking action is really the biggest and most important thing that you can do as an investor. In face of imperfect information, and it always will be imperfect and incomplete.
Thanks for watching. Success is not for everybody, and it may not be for you. If you are or are on your way to be a millionaire or multimillionaire, probably going to want to spend time with my clients. Probably going to want to have a personal relationship with me so we can accelerate that process, get you living up to your maximum potential, earning your maximum wage. You're going to want to click that follow button. You're going to want to click that bell and get notifications. Tune in every Friday. Tune in every Monday. You're going to love what you see. I look forward to having you as a client in the future.